Ra'ad al-Hussein was an instrumental figure in the negotiations for the Rome Statute and the creation of the International Criminal Court. In addition to being elected as the first president of the Assembly of State Parties to the Rome Statute, he's also a former United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights. He's Jordan's former ambassador to the United States. And he's a professor of practice of law and human rights at the University of Pennsylvania. Essentially, he is a lifelong champion of human rights and international peacekeeping, and he joins me now. Prince, thank you for being with us. We appreciate your time today. I've been looking for you to talk about this because there are allegations of all of the things that I just listed above, all the way from genocide to atrocities and war crimes. I would like your evaluation of what you have seen happen in Ukraine and what you think can be done about it legally outside the purview of war.
Well, thank you, Ali. I'm delighted to be with you on this show, of course, but in grim times. Clearly, just looking at what has emerged over the last few weeks, it's almost a certainty that war crimes have been committed. The numbers of protected sites, protected persons, i.e. civilians, that have seemingly been deliberately targeted is quite enormous, which suggests that there has been planning and organization behind it. These are not sort of random or sporadic attacks that have led to civilian deaths. This is something far more deliberate. Crimes against humanity basically require two things, that they be either widespread or systematic. And I think we'll soon see a considerable amount of evidence point to that as well. Genocide is a leadership crime. It requires direction from the top. It requires us to find linkage evidence, which is extremely difficult to do, because as you've reported on previously, there has to be intent shown, and that has to be proven in court, which is a very high threshold. The crime of aggression, the supreme crime as identified in Nuremberg, is also a leadership crime. It is also a crime perpetrated right at the top. And there have been a number of calls, and we have joined. I'm part of the Elders group set up by Nelson Mandela. We have also joined the calls for a tribunal to be established for the prosecution of those guilty for the crime of aggression in this regard.
Ultimately, though, you know of cases in the past and now where there are crimes of aggression and there are various war crimes being committed, but until you get someone to hold them accountable, sometimes no one is held accountable, or they may be held accountable in absentia, but it doesn't stop the aggression. It doesn't stop the war crimes. So how do you see this happening here, where we see firsthand certain things that are happening? You make an important point that war crimes are easy to witness and see. Genocide is tougher. But even with the war crimes, what do you do about it if no one is ever caught?
Well, no, there will be people caught, and there will be people prosecuted for war crimes. I have very little doubt about that. I think the allegations of genocide or genocidal acts having been committed, or indeed how you bring President Putin into custody and then try him for the crime of aggression is a more difficult sort of challenge. But, you know, strange things always happen. We are not prophets to say it won't happen. The age of prophets has passed. So you know, we continue to collect the evidence, make sure that the evidence is well vetted, because there'll be a lot of false information making its way in. And then let's see what happens. A lot of bright people thought they could one day escape the law. Eventually, the law has caught up with them. Indeed, some will, you know, seemingly escape for a long time. And I have said in the past, for instance, I thought that one day Bashar al-Assad of Syria would be brought to book. He's not in that space there, or he's not in that space now. But, you know, times do change. And what we hope for is that this is a good juncture for all countries who have not yet joined the International Criminal Court, including, of course, the United States, to join it, because it's hard to press the case when the countries that are sort of quite loud about this themselves not party to the statute of the International Criminal Court. I hope this will be a moment, or at least it will lead to a moment where this happens.
Well, this is the point I wanted to get to, actually, with you, because the United States and Russia are not signatories to it. Ukraine has accepted some of the International Criminal Court's jurisdiction because of the Russian invasion of Crimea and Ukraine in 2014. But the United States, prior to this, had been signaling that it may be more open to this. Do you think that's a reality? Because the President of the United States has said that he believes war crimes have been committed, but it becomes difficult when the United States is not a robust supporter of the International Criminal Court and the things that came out of the Rome Statute.
Yes, no, I understand that during the Obama administration, there was a very serious discussion on whether or not the U.S. should begin to think about joining. Unfortunately, we saw that during the Trump administration, there was a complete reversal. I mean, there was almost an assault on the court itself. And also we saw, in 2019, what the Trump administration did regarding U.S. soldiers accused of war crimes. I mean, Staff Sergeant Eddie Gallagher featured, of course, very prominently in that story. I would imagine that the Biden administration is similarly looking to see perhaps, maybe not now because it's preoccupied with Ukraine and what can be done to ensure that the people of Ukraine will see justice, but in a later phase that we have this discussion again here in the US about whether or not joining the ICC is something that now needs to be considered fully.
Zeid Ra'ad Al Hussein, we appreciate your time this morning. Mr. Al Hussein was the first president of the Assembly of State Parties to the Rome Statute, a former United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, and the former Jordanian ambassador to the United States. We appreciate your time this morning.